All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going over the online PDF book, AppInventor2, Create Your Own Android Apps by Wohlberg, Abelson, Spertus, and Looney. I'm in the middle of Chapter 7, Android Where's My Car. In the first part of the video series here, I created the heading label, which said your current location. I created the first horizontal arrangement right here, and I created the second horizontal arrangement, which is right here. All right, so I'm going to continue on, and notice what's left. I need a button, and then underneath that button, we're going to put some more information. So we'll go in and we'll take a look at that in just a minute, okay? All right. So first we want a button that's going to be called Remember Button. And when we look here, it says Remember My Current Location. All right. We'll again take the width and set it to fill the parent. And we will bold the text on the button, and let's make it about 18 points. That looks a little nicer, I think. Okay. And then underneath that, it looks as though what we want is something very similar to what we just did. So we want remembered place. All right. And now that I look at this, let's see what I put up here to begin with. We've got address, and here I think this was supposed to say unknown. All right. All right, so we will put in another horizontal arrangement. Horizontal arrangement 2. And in there, we're going to have remembered place. In fact, I'm going to put remembered place up above that. I am going to, can't really move that down, but I should be able to come in and put a label in up here and squeeze that label in there. There we go. So again, we want this to be called, we'll call it label remembered place. All right, we're going to do just what we did up here too. All right, and that was, we made a 20 point and fill parent. And probably bold it also. And centered. All right, that looks pretty nice. It looks pretty symmetrical, I think, with the other one. Here, we just hit automatic, so that should be okay, I believe. All right, so in here, we want to put in, again, 2 more labels. Another one that looks just like the one up above, address unknown, and then another GPS down below it. Then we're going to have another button, and then our web viewer. All right, so we've got a remember button, our remembered header label, and I don't know if that's what I called it. No. So, remembered header label. Okay, so there's that. And then we want in here our remembered address label and our remember address data label. I believe that's what those will be. There they are. Again, the idea is we want it to look like this, and you can see how similar these two are going to look. So I'm going to make the first one look pretty much just like this one does. All right, so I'm going to come in here and drop in 2 labels. Not what I wanted. There we go. And again, this one will look just like, pretty much like the other one. All right, but whereas we call this over here current address label and current address data label, we're going to call this remembered address label and remembered address data label. Okay. And again, that's going to say address, just like it did before. With a colon, which I left out. And I want this to be pretty much the same size as the other ones, so. Okay, looks good right there. And this one will again say unknown. And just like we did before with this one, that's remembered address label, and this one will be remembered address data label. And with this one, we will set the width to fill parent. Okay, the problem is I've got to go back to the horizontal arrangement, set the width of that to fill parent. There we go. Now, if we do this, there we go. And again, if I want to, I can do the same kind of thing we did in here. In other words, I can take this and I can change the background color just like we did and make it pink. I'm trying to figure out what I did there to make that one thicker, but because that looks like it's thicker than this one is. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. It's something we can get to at a later time. So I want to reproduce this. I'm going to put in my button in my web viewer, and that will be it for the second part. We're already at 8 minutes, and that's going to push us pretty close. All right. So I'm going to put in another they're not doing it exactly like this, but I'm going to put in another horizontal arrangement. So mine is going to differ a little bit from theirs. And in here again, just like we did previously, I'm going to have 4 different labels. Okay. That was it. We had the height on this label here, 30 pixels. All right, there we go. And this, in fact, both of these, I'll want this to be height, to be fill parent, and I want this one to be height, fill parent. There we go. All right. I have to stop for just a second here. All right, I should mention this, that I am taping this from the apartment in which I'm currently living, and occasionally the heat goes on, and when it does, it rattles all the doors because it's kind of loud. So that's why when I pause the tape, that's the reason I'm pausing it. Okay, so we want to come in here, and again, very similar to what we did here, we're going to do the same kind of thing here. So this will be, this one was GPS label. So I think they call this remembered GPS label. All right, and again, this will say GPS colon, just like we had before. All right, and the text for our next one, this will be remembered lat label. And there'll be nothing in there. All right, but we will change the color very similar to what we did before. So no text, and then we'll go and we'll set the color to red like we did previously. Okay, and we'll tell the height to be fill parent, and we'll tell the width to be fill parent. I think that's how we did it before. All right, no we didn't. The height was fill parent, and the width was 30 pixels. What did we do there? Okay, with pixels, the height should be automatic, goofed up here. All right, our second label, again that's red. We want the height of that to be 30 pixels. Still. All right. Going from bad to worse here. Put that one in. We'll go to our second one. Red, we'll just leave this set to automatic for right now. All right, I'm going to go to the third one. This will be remember, I think they call this comma 2 label. Okay, and this one was gray. Trying to figure out why I'm not seeing any of these, but something is goofed up. With no text. And then finally label 4, which will be my remembered lawn label. And it looks like that's blue. So this will be, last one here will be automatic and then fill parent. Something is definitely goofed up here. So what I'm going to do is in my horizontal, I'm going to remove the entire horizontal arrangement and then put it back again. So I'm going to delete this, say yes. It's gone. I'm going to put it back again then. And I'm going to pause the video while I do this because it's not no use in you watching this. So In fact, where we are right now, I'm going to put that back in, and I'm going to put in the button in the web viewer, and then we'll pick it up in the next part where we'll start going into the blocks editor to actually add our code.